Hey everyone, we are back with another agent interview to dig into real telesales numbers, right? Real struggles agents are going through. Everybody's on a different journey. We're all feeling different things. We'll talk cash flow. We'll talk, about any sort of insights these agents have that are in the trenches making this work, mostly from home. Okay. So today, guys, we've got Vaughn Roberts. I'm going to bring him on here in just a second. So Vaughn, guys, Vaughn is 22 years old, just out of college, and he's been with us. Well, I'll let him tell that story, but he's been with us for I don't know since last year. I don't remember when last year. I mean, this year already. It's June. He's already submitted $81,000 in premium. 22 years old, graduated from college 6 months ago. Okay. Anybody can do this, and Vaughn is a great story. He's, you'll learn from him for sure. Okay, so let me bring him on here and let's see what we got here. Vaughn, all right, thanks for coming on and agreeing to share with everyone kind of your experience in the business here. Happy to have you, man.
Happy to be with you, Jeff, and thanks for such a, generous intro. I don't really look at what I've done as being too impressive, but if you want to color it that way, by all means, I guess.
22 years old, 6 months out of college, and this last it's June 14th. I mean, over $81,000. I'm looking at your numbers right now. So we're going to go deep into some of your numbers on some of the leads you're working here in just a moment here. But man, to be able to do that, and while graduating college, you were doing this last year, it's pretty incredible.
Well, like I said, I don't really think of it as being too incredible. And as you said, I mean, really anybody can do this. If you're somebody that loves to talk to people, and if you're somebody that, likes doing something good, which I would hope is the large majority of folks out there, if it's something that, drives you to wake up every morning and to help families and to put some good back in the world. I mean, yeah, like you said, anybody can do it, including me, I guess.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, before Digital BGA, I always ask people, like, what did you do before you were with us? But you're in college, right? When you joined us.
So, it just blipped on when you had started saying that. Yes, I was primarily in college, and I did pursue a degree in marketing management, and I was kind of doing that. I wasn't really a top student. I was more like a B+ student because I was kind of coasting and working on the side. But to answer your question, what did I do on the side? I was a security guard, Jeff. I worked in parking lots. I would dress, the Paul Blart Mall Cop movie. I actually had a real life uniform that had the American flag on it. I worked I worked. This is true, and I did work. I was from New York City originally, and I've since moved. But I worked, sports games, hockey games, basketball, that sort of thing. And, I was making probably like $20 an hour, 25 on a good day. And yeah, things are different now a little bit.
Yeah. So when you got to Digital BGA, you kind of have a cool little story about that.
That is true. So, at some point I realized I couldn't work enough hours to, support the people that I needed to support. I may be 22, but, I'm pretty important in what I do for my family and how I keep them afloat. That's my number one priority. That's my why. That's something that we talk about a lot in digital. What is your why? My why is the biggest thing, the most important thing to me and to, most everybody, their family. So I realized, I didn't have enough money coming in, and I couldn't make it work doing school and that at the same time. So I had to kind of research, what I was going to do. And essentially I had two options. I could do an internship, and I went to a top business school. So it was, something like the door was open for me to do that, to do an internship with, I had friends that were at McKinsey that were at, Lord knows, actually New York Life, even the insurance company, people did internships there. But my point is could either do that, or I could pursue something independent and, do something on my own volition and build something myself. And I've always been that kind of person to kind of chart my own path and pick a direction and do that. I don't like necessarily people telling me what to do, unless it's somebody like I respect, like Mr. Jeff Root, for instance. But the point is the before my last year of college, or rather before my last semester, when we went, into summer break, I chose to start this business with Digital BGA. I have an entity. I have all the equity is my own. Every dime I make is my own, and I create that. And I created my own internship basically, and kind of learned the ropes. And we can talk about that too. But that was kind of the start. I finished my degree, and now I'm back doing this full time.
Awesome. So you got into Digital BGA through an internship through your school that you built out, basically, right? That was
the way that I'm phrasing this is I could either have done a real internship with a company that was already established,
there we go. Yeah.
or create my own company. But I'm just phrasing it like I created my own internship by creating my own company, if that makes sense.
Got it. Love it. So we know your why. I love that you shared that with us. So so I like to ask agents right off the bat here, not like a typical day, like what's your schedule like when you're on the phones? Like, a lot of people value the freedom of telesales. They value, a lot of it. So tell us about your daily work schedule.
I think it's pretty standard. Other than that, I work to about 7 Eastern. I try to, I think pretty much wake up, morning meetings. You have to do the morning meetings with digital. If this is something that you really want to pursue and you're serious about it, there is no way, shape, or form, especially if you're, starting out rather, that you're going to be able to miss those morning meetings. Even the most seasoned agents are in those meetings or leading them or whatever the case may be, which is, so that's going to be my first part of the day every time. Definitely, probably from the start, just go through the dialer. You always want to do new business first. That's something I learned from another agent, Anthony Patton, who I'm sure will probably do an interview like this, similar. You want to do new business, focus on that. And then, kind of in the middle of the day when you've contacted everybody, try to get to the follow-ups, get to the people that, maybe were interested, that sort of thing. When I work, like I said, try to do, 10 hours a day, something like that. But I've, as a young man and as a young person, I've just been trying to get my life together, with documents and moving, like I mentioned, from New York to where I'm at now. And, I've had to take some time off. So to be quite honest with you, I could be doing much better. And I look at myself harshly like that, but I work hard when I do it.
Okay. So you're working at least 10 hours a day. And you work from home. This is your home office, I take it?
That is correct. Yes. This is the pink room that I was designated in my family's house. Oh.
That's funny. So tell us, Fuad, what leads do you work now?
What I'm working now are web leads, basically. And they are essentially generated, I do believe, on Facebook. They're incredibly well done. I'm finding huge return on investment with that. I also do something with those web leads to maximize their potential by selecting out states. I actually built out a formula based on the folks that I do best with and kind of the demographics that, I am kind of, I guess favorable with. And, I chose.
Walk us through that. The people who you do best with. Let me touch on that for a second. Who do you do best with?
Well, essentially, you have to target based on age first. And honestly, another agent talked about this, really, Ashley Bryant, who does her own targeting when she gets her leads in. For instance, she says that people over 75 or 80 in that sort of range, the percentage of those that buy really don't, it's not as high as the ones that are from the 60 to 75, right? So I kind of crunched numbers, looked at some statistics, found states that had a bigger proportion of that. And also another thing that I was looking at was percentage of people that are using bank accounts as opposed to Direct Express, because I had a period of time where I was writing too much Direct Express, rather, business. And for me, that was really hurting the bottom line, just because that's not advanced business. It's not going to pay up front to you. So as somebody that just started out, you need to stag that quickly and get back your debts. So I've been targeting states with mainly those two factors in mind, and that has really cut down my direct express business to about zero over the past month or so. Which is tremendous, obviously. And on top of that, these people are more interested because they're in that age demographic that more typically buys.
That's really smart. And you're only working a subset of states, and it's consistently talking to probably the same type of people. You can probably relate and connect a little bit better talking to people that are from the same states.
That is true. And when I had first started, before I was with digital, I did interviews with other IMOs, and I'll bring them up because I know that they're actually your downline, Douglas Massey.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. He's a good dude.
Yeah, no, but I was talking to Doug Massey, and he told me, what their process is they kind of, if you have a Southern accent, they still select the states based on that, and, that sort of thing. And I remember that, from when we first spoke, and, just kind of track my own statistics. But, that's kind of the vibe and the thought process behind what I'm kind of doing.
Okay, got it. So you're currently working Facebook leads. Before this, you were working your TV call-ins though, and you had some success, but you made a pivot. And let's talk through that. I mean, you did TV leads for a while. In fact, by the way, there's a video that went around our whole company that you made.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, of course I know what you're talking about. It took me a while.
That made its rounds. Maybe I can get David to splice that in there for this video right now.
How is everybody else at Digital BGA closing over 20%? Hey, wait a minute. Digital BGA's new call-in platform has dark mode built in? Well, I guess it couldn't hurt to try.
Thank you for calling Digital BGA. This is Vaughn A. Roberts on a recorded line. How can I help you today?
Yeah, okay, that would be great.
Yeah, can you talk to us about those about kind of your transition away from TV calls? Because let me preface this by saying that I'm very much subscribed to the fact that a certain lead type best suits a certain type of agents. Somebody could be great with inbound, terrible at outbound. Somebody could be an outbound and really, because of their call reluctance or because of their activity and all that stuff, they should be an inbound for different situations. And you don't know until you try it, And so I like to hear about the transitions away from a lead source to finding success somewhere else. Like, what was it about working TV calls? Because I ran your numbers, you're profitable there. You just weren't as profitable as you are with Facebook right now.
That is correct. And just to be clear, when I first started, like when I said, quote unquote, internship, and I did 3 months before returning back to school, I cut my teeth on Facebook leads too, or web leads.
Got it.
So when I had first started, that's what I did. And obviously it was tougher in the beginning because I didn't really know what to do. I was kind of, not the agent that I am today. And but I had experience doing that. But after finishing college, as I did inbound leads for some time, the thing with it, and I would say is like this. Inbound is always going to close at about a 20% rate, as long as you're just following the script and kind of just, not incompetent, I think, because they're just that good. My style is more like off the cuff, and I kind of play around with the script, and it worked for inbound. I was still closing at around that rate, and I was still, like you said, profitable. but I feel like, on outbound calls, my style, people let me in to have that conversation. It's not difficult for me to create interest and to generate interest. Therefore, if I'm creating interest at a higher level, and proportionally my cost per call, conversation, if you will, is going to be lower, and therefore my ROI is going to be higher. So I don't know if I explained that well, but that's kind of the nuts and bolts of why I switched, and
Okay, got it. All right, and it makes a lot of sense. Like I said, some people are suited better for an outbound lead, and some people are suited better for an inbound lead. There's no right answer to what lead you choose, but it's always interesting to hear about the transition from one lead to another and what sort of led to it. So, I'm going to pull up some numbers right now. Prior to this meeting, I put together some stats. It's kind of a messy slide here, but I'll try and make some rhyme and reason of it. You haven't seen this. It's just going to be of your Facebook leads that you've taken since you started on February 12th or so. And yeah, let's dig into that. Let me share my screen real quick. Let's go here.
I didn't know I've been taking them since February 12th. I thought I was still doing inbound, but okay.
No, you're doing both. So I'm just gonna look at your Facebook results here because that's what you're more focused on recently here. So I will break down just a bunch of cool different data points here. I kind of have a conversation around that to I think it'd help a lot of people out there. So from February 12th to May 31st, I didn't count the last couple of weeks because I just like this, to give it enough time for you to contact people and not skew any sort of results or anything like that. So from February 12th to May 31st, about 3.5 months, you took 365 leads. You made 27 sales. That's a 7.4% closing rate, which is good. It's above average, right? I could see that you're doing well with these. So that is about a $159 acquisition cost. So to make a sale, it costs you $159. Okay. And your average premium is $1,044, which is higher. It's above average than most people who work Facebook leads, which is great to see. And so I have some questions about that in a moment here. But I just want to explain these numbers here. Of those 27 sales, 21 of them actually placed in force. So you have a 78% placement rate, which is in line. That's good. You've got good placement there. Placed annual premium of $22,525 off of these 365 leads. All right. Your lead carrier, as you can see here, the carriers that you wrote, is SBLI. I could tell that you're mostly leading with them. Your cost of a placed application is $205. It costs you $205 to get a placed policy with an average premium of $1,000. So your mix of business, you have 20 level plans and 7 graded or modified plans. All right. And average commission is, assuming you're at 110% level commission, 80% GI, 75% GTL. With all this here, you have a 67.6% average advance. All right. So all that to say is that, I'm sorry, you have 101%. Yeah. So average advance of 67.6. Okay. So estimated immediate net profit of 10,637. And I did this. I'm going to come back to this, by the way. I did this using the income estimator. And so I plugged your numbers into the income estimator. Okay. And so basically what you did here over 3.5 months is what we're seeing in the monthly. You took 365 leads. Okay. 27 sales, 28,000 premiums sold. So about 22,000 in force. So you could expect $10,637 from those 365 leads, like right now, advanced income. I put all the inputs I just talked about on the previous slide into here, and $7,197 coming to you in months and 10, 11, and 12. So obviously there's persistency, right? So you have to back that out, and you now have to like conserve this business and service this business to keep this money here, of course, and that's a piece of the business that I'll have some questions for you here as well. But I wanted to show you those numbers. Let me go back to the other one. I wanted to show you those numbers because there's a couple things that I took from it. Wanted to talk around those. Let me pull that other one up again. So 365 total leads. You can take that amount in a month, right? Technically, if you were to do that, you'd be netting about $10,000 even after lead costs every single month.
So let me just barge in here for one moment. When it comes to the total leads, I do believe in February, I was still taking all TV calls. So I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but that was my recollection of it. So I don't know. Also,
you were doing both. Yeah. I tracked down your first leads to February 12th, taking.
You know why? Because I took a replacement order with our provider, and I had 17 leads come in February, and then I didn't take another order for like many weeks afterwards. So this is not necessarily representative of 3.5 months worth of work, but I will say, in May, for instance, I had to take 2 weeks off to move. Okay. And then a month previous, I took a full week off. I wasn't working. If, I was working full time, these numbers would be even higher. Obviously, the AP is good. The placement is in line, like you said. I'm pretty proud of this. Just looking at it, the large majority of my business is level. Quite frankly, with certain carriers that we have now, and you'll know what I mean, some of that graded business could be changed, but I had a little bit of an issue with them. But in any case, I'm proud of this, and I know that once I kind of get my life on track as a young person that's just starting out, I think that this will only exponentially grow, and I'm proud.
You, as you should be. This is... how do I put this? You're 22 years old, just out of college, and you put this all together. And that is something very commendable. And I want to congratulate you on that, but also I want to hear from you. Like, for example, like your average premium is higher on Facebook leads than most agents. To have a $1,000 average annual premium, what are you doing in your presentation that's getting those numbers?
I honestly feel like I could even push that AP a little bit higher, but because when I had first started, I want to tell you this story. My first week ever at Digital BGA, I was stumbling. Actually, I'll say it this way. The first call I ever made to a person that picked up, and I've delivered the script for the first time. I had never read it before. That sale was for 5,700 AP. Okay. It was well over 5,000. And I saved that. They mailed me the letter. I saved that as a memento. It just goes to show you when you cannot be afraid to quote high and use that line. It's so great in the script. We don't ever assume that you don't want the maximum amount of availability, because it's true. It's a low pressure line that we don't assume, why not? And say something like, just stick with me, we'll read you something lower too. Very calm, very collected. And they always let you do it, okay? But you can't be afraid to read them that higher premium, because you will be surprised how many folks, and then later on, folks will say, oh, can you bump me up actually to 20,000 in coverage, not the 15,000? Of course, I'd be happy to do that. I think that's the key thing. And overall, it's always having that conversation about inflation too, because the best way to kind of talk about that, I find, is, hey, Jeff, you and I have been to a supermarket recently, right? I mean, I don't have to tell you, right? Inflation's just killer. But the thing with it is in 10 years, we don't know if a traditional burial is going to cost 13,000. It's probably going to be a lot more. And I just want you to kind of keep that in mind as we kind of go through this. And they're like, okay, obviously we want to think about that. And then that kind of bridges on to the part where they say, hey, let me get the $20,000 policy instead of the 15. I think I can make it work. So I think that's how the sausage is made, more or less.
Awesome. No, and you make some great points, and I hope agents in final expense telesales are really listening to what you're saying. You can't be afraid to, and you can't prejudge people if they have that money. If you don't know their full situation, because we're not doing full fact finders in final expense telesales, right? We're not getting everything about their finances, so you can't assume a lot of this stuff. So you just have to give them the option, and maybe 1 out of every 10 or 1 out of every 20 will take the max offer. But that brings up your average premium that will, and cover them appropriately, most of all, because that's what they want and that's what they need. And we just always can't assume that, everyone is on a fixed income. And even if they are, that they can't afford a bigger policy.
I have a tip for this just briefly, a question that I learned from, not doing final expense, but something that I've integrated into my presentation is, hey, Jeff, is there anything else that you're trying to leave your beneficiary, 401k, pension, bank CD, anything like that? And they, depending on the situation, you can kind of grasp how folks talk about that. Maybe if they had a 401k and then they spent it, they're kind of well-versed in, how it works. Maybe they do have something set aside. There's ways to ask me questions that have nothing to do with the information that you're trying to acquire, but can give you an insight on how the person forms their thoughts and maybe how they went through their life financially and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at the screen again here. So your cost per acquisition is $205 of a placed policy is what it's cost you with Facebook leads. And so you're, average premium is $1,000 and an average commission of 100% with an average advance. So you're looking at around a 3-to-1 immediate ROI on this. Immediate. It's much more than that once you factor in what's coming, in the future. So you're doing a great job. And if this were a coaching session, I would say, Vaughn, you should stick with Facebook. Look, because I looked at your TV stuff, and yes, you closed 20%, and I think you said your issue there before was Direct Express. Am I right? And that's kind of
that is correct.
Your experience with it, and you couldn't cash flow it as well as you hoped.
That is correct. And I think a lot of the more established agents, even when I first started, there was kind of not a push, but you were free to, of course, do the web leads, the Facebook leads, and then the idea was to move you on. And that is maybe due to the cash flow aspect of it, because when you're established, hey, that's great. As are in business, no chargebacks, obviously. So that's fantastic. I would just say, for me, as somebody starting out, I also have a business entity, not just my own personal licenses. So, double licensing costs, that's not with not as much cash flow. It's not really conducive to where I was at. And, the ROI that I'm seeing is plenty good for me. I feel very comfortable. I like calling people. I like, getting my foot in the door, conversation wise. And I think that I'm good at it. And, I would hope my clients like me too. I had a referral the other day. Somebody was in a supermarket and they said, I don't know who this person was. They were just talking about how great the agent is, and I had to call you. I said, okay, I'll take that.
That's awesome. I could tell you're building good rapport. They're calling you for, for reasons like that. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so, and so your total annual premium submitted is $28,000 from February to May. And I do want to make clear, I said at the beginning of the video that you submitted $81,000 so far in 2024 as of yesterday. So 81,000 total. So you have about 50 of it, a little less than 50 of it was TV. And the rest of it's probably referrals and cross sales and things like that. That's because the data that we're looking at here is just unique sales to the leads that you've taken, not factoring in spouse sales or anything like that. So if you factor everything in, the close rate is likely above 7.4%. Your CPA is likely a lot lower than what we're showing here if you factor in those and the referrals and any sort of other policies that you pull off here. So anyway, I wanted to show this as just kind of, I like to dig into and show real numbers to show people out there just what's like what people like you are doing, right? 22-year-old straight out of college. And man, I wish I was selling at 22 years old and doing it at the level you're doing it right now. You've got a great future ahead of you, Vaughn. Like seriously.
I'd like to think so too, but hey, only I can decide what kind of future I have. Words won't decide, and even though I'm very, very appreciative of that. But I think the thing that people should really take away from this is pretty much everything is up to you. If I had been working full-time, 100% effort, doing that 10-hour day that I discussed every single day instead of dealing with the things that I really had to deal with, these numbers would be much greater. And, that's motivation for me because like you said, I haven't seen this before. So I'm looking at this and saying, look, I need to do better. I'm going to buckle down today because today's Friday. You better believe once we get off this phone call, I'm calling leads every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that you're on the lead that you're meant for right now, just looking at that data. Right. And if you focus on that, and there's a lot of optimizations you can do. I mean, it's great because the leads the Facebook leads that we have right now, it shows your face. It has your phone number. And some of those are calling you, right? Like they pick up the phone and call you before they even get to you.
Yeah, well, I'm not a bad looking guy, so they have to call, but yeah, no, but it is good because you do get inbounds. And honestly, as we were on this phone call, I think I just got an inbound phone call, when I had to take a call earlier. So, yeah, I'll get back to them though.
All right. Well, Vaughn, I appreciate you sharing a lot of this stuff with us. I think, it's important for other agents to hear this and hear the journey and to know if, especially with your schedule, right? You were able to, like you said, move, you had college, you had family stuff, right? You had a ton of stuff going on and you were still able to earn. And that's really important. The whole flexibility of telesales. And you also know what's possible here. I just think that's it's a story people need to hear.
I'm glad that you feel that way, Jeff. It's been my pleasure speaking with you. I think you and what your company's mission is absolutely tremendous. My impression of you and the people that, like Nick and like Dante and the people that are with digital is nothing but positive. And the training here, I need to give a shout out to my man, the RSD of the century, JD Laguerre. Without him, I don't know what I'd be doing. I'd probably in a cardboard box somewhere, but that man, just the best trainer of all time. I even tried to copy his beard and, it's kind of definitely working out. So he's great. And
JD is incredible, man. JD's incredible. So, I'm glad that we're very fortunate to have him.
You sure are, and I'm glad to be with you. Thank you for your time today, Jeff. I really am appreciative.
All right. Thanks, Vaughn.